At this moment right here, as I introduce, of course, my Italian brothers over here in arms, Marco, Tony, and of course, Mike in the middle. At this moment, I haven't really seen the San Siro have that level of energy. And I knew that we went into this and we spoke about how the intensity and the question marks over whether or not they could handle these occasions, whether they could close out the season, were all there. I think we're all disappointed after looking at what we saw there from Milan today.
Yeah, the expectation has always been this season that it would improve and get better as the season went on. And of course, we talked about the objective for Max Allegri was to get the Champions League, right? I completely understand that. But when you're just looking at it from a pure football, from the eyeball test, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. I mean, the one thing I will say today, and it's something, and I've said it, I see you guys every week talk about it, there's oftentimes no reference point up top for Milan. Füllkrug came in and make an argument for how you want to argue one way or the other, but what he does is occupy center backs. And when he came in today, it opened up the game, I thought, a little bit.
I agree with what Tony's saying. The one silver lining is that they changed the shape. For me, they went to you could look at it any way you want, but just to make it more clear in your mind, like they still kept that back five with the 3 center backs and the 2 wing backs, but then they went to 2 center midfielders, and they allowed 2 wingers and a center forward, which I think it's the way they won the Scudetto when we covered it years ago, when they have Giroud in the front and Leao on the left, right? Yeah. So now Leao becomes a more natural position, and Kunku came into that position as well. He was on the right side as well. So now you've got the wingers. It suits Pulisic better when he's healthy. It suits Leao better. It suits Nkunku better. And then you have the reference point in Füllkrug or Jimenez or whoever you want. But at least now you can build from there. And they showed in the second half, in the next 45 minutes, that they created chances. They created opportunities.
But Grella, it's May.
With that shape.
It's May. We got 2 games to go. How are they figuring it out now?
I totally agree. Those are the questions you have to ask.
Frustration, right?
But if you want to take the silver lining, you could say, okay, and this works, I think, against Allegri because it's May, and because also that means you have the guys, but you're putting them in the wrong spot. For sure, the answer is not Pulisic and Leao up front. For sure, that doesn't take a genius. Well, we've said that forever. But then the table lied to us. The fact that they play 1 game a week lied to us because it was like, well, but what do you mean? They're right there. They're right there. But the truth of the matter was always that you have to, and Ancelotti has said this before, and I consider him one of the greatest managers in the world, in history of the game, by the way. So he has always said you have to look at what you have and put them in the best players in positions to succeed. Allegri is doing a little bit the opposite, and he did it at Juventus with Chiesa as well, where he tried to make him play as a wing back, right? Chiesa's picking up the ball 70 yards away from the goal. You have to look at what you have and say, okay, this is what we can make. Leao's my best player. Pulisic's my best player, right? Modric is my best player. What is the way that I can make them look the best? He's done the opposite. He's put them in a position, in a formation, in a mode of playing that's like so gear grinding, so reserved, so defensive. When you're playing Cremonese at home and the game starts in San Siro, and you give them the ball and you go up in your own end and pick up the line of pressure 10 yards within your own end, something sits wrong. I think for Milan fans as well, I'm a neutral as much as I obviously want to be. If you're a Milan fan like Tony or Matteo or whoever, or all the great Milan fans out there, even all the great legends that play the game, you play in San Siro and you pick up the point of pressure, 10 points in your own end, that sends a message to everyone. Hey, we're scared. Hey, we're on the back foot. Hey, we're going to be a little negative today. I think that falls on Allegri for sure.
Men lie, women lie, but numbers never do. And no matter the dominance in terms of what Milan were able to create today, the most important stat on this sheet is a 2-3 in terms of losing at home once again in match day 36. And when you look at their stretch overall in terms of where they've been, and this is not an anomaly, this is really a consistent run of form that Allegri finds himself in. And since the derby, where we were all sitting here, we were all pumped. In fact, I feel a few of us were on the ground enjoying this moment and thinking, was the Scudetto up for grabs? It really has gone south since then. Only 2 wins out of 8. And that really does identify the struggles that Milan have faced in closing out this season.
Yeah, you said it. Numbers don't lie. Look at them. The one that concerns me the most is the 6 goals scored in 8 matches, right? And this is historic for Milan and the poor form that they've had. So if you look at any of those numbers, certainly the record's not good enough. But guys, teams go through stretches like this. But the fact that they're not scoring goals, the lack of creation of goals, I think that's what concerns me the most.
I made a point at the beginning of this, which was that I've never seen the San Siro like this. This is one of the historic stadiums across the world of football. You know, the passionate fans, you've alluded to a couple of that, of course, we work with. But in terms of the energy and watching them walk out of that stadium after 53 minutes, it really does speak volumes about the direction this club is going in right now. And Marco, it feels like there's some deeper issues at play as well.
Yeah, we saw the Curva Sud even before the match, protesting their CEO as well. So it's not good times. They're not happy with the direction. They're not happy with the decisions that have been made, not just this season, but over the past years. Itare might also be leaving their sporting director. So it feels like they're up in the air. And I think to the greater point of, yes, Milan, they still have to achieve their objective of getting Champions League football. But if they play this type of football next year in the Champions League, it's going to be more embarrassment. It's just going to be. If they're tired after only playing one competition all year long, what are they going to do when they add in Champions League football, which is additional matches since the last time they've been involved in the competition? So it just feels like we have higher expectations for where this team should be, and it leaves you wanting more. And the scary thing is, their next two games, they look winnable on paper because it's Genoa and Cagliari, and I think that Milan will be in Champions League football. But those next two matches are actually against teams that they struggle with. They struggle against teams that are not in the top six. They struggle against teams who can stay tight defensively and who don't need the ball. And it would also be ironic with Genoa and Daniele De Rossi, who is a Roma legend, if he could help his former team out by getting a result against this Milan side.
Grella, I feel like it's a conversation we've been having since the turn of the year. Who's going to finish in the top four positions, especially looking at the remaining fixtures? Do you have a nudge either way? Now you can see sort of the home stretch. We're now down to the final couple of games. Who's giving you the flavour and who's giving you the form that they're going to finish strong?
Yeah, neither of the teams were really convincing. Roma had the chance against Juventus, and they were up by 2 with not many minutes to go, and so that was a big opportunity. Juventus have been there in many situations before, and year after year, even when they play so poorly and they've had poor transfer windows and the merry-go-round with the coaches and identity and all that, they found a way to get the top 4. So Juventus looks like the one for me. Milan also was nailed on for me as well. I thought a couple of weeks ago it looks like Milan-Juventus, and now all of a sudden Roma and Como back in the conversation in a really big way. So it's a toss-up. 2 games, no easy games in Serie A. So everything to play for that final spot for sure.
I'm going to defer to what my brother Tony spoke about earlier, and as much as we can talk about the disappointment of Milan, we also need to give the flowers to what Atalanta and Palladino did today in terms of their performance away from home, knowing that their form guide and their confidence probably wasn't where it has been previously. How impressed were you with what you saw?
Impressed for 60 minutes.
Okay.
Right, going up 3-0, and then I think they took their foot off the pedal a little bit. And got to give credit to Milan, like we have, right? They stepped on it, but like when you're 3 down, like the stakes are different, right? You can take chances.
You risk more.
Yeah, you risk more. And I think the frustration is, what takes so long to risk more if you're Milan? You look at the players, right? And I think if you look at these rosters, I'm not quite sure that many people would pick Atalanta's roster in general on paper over Milan's roster. But when you look at the way that they play, Atalanta's a more favorable side to watch. If you're just a neutral and you just took names off, you took history out of the equation. Today, Atalanta was, for the most part, a more fun team to watch. But again, this has been a growing concern for quite some time with Milan. This didn't happen. This is an Atalanta side who made a managerial change, who started to go like this. They had a little bit of a dip, but now I think we're seeing the fruits of their football. My question would always be, and I ask this all the time, what was Milan trying to do today? Ask yourself. You have a clear picture of what Atalanta was trying to do. Movement up top, patterns of play, ball into the forward, run off of forwards, get the ball wide, intricate passing. It doesn't always work. It doesn't always come off all the time. But if you ask me, we just watched 90 minutes, I'll ask you guys, what was Milan trying to do today? What was the mission today? Okay, in the end, they were fighting to get another goal. I understand that part. But what was the mission when they came on the field today?
For me, it's to not concede first and to hope that the quality up top will score a goal, which is pretty much Allegri's philosophy, his theory on football. And when you have a team that is so aggressive and beats you to every 50-50 ball, and by the way, we haven't mentioned the name of Luka Modric. When you don't have him on the field, you see the way that their quality is did. So that's why I think the overarching theme of this Milan is interesting.
My thing, too, is just quickly is, we're not crazy, right? We cover this. We understand it. We don't expect that we're going to get the Milan from the early 2000s that are going to win the Champions League. We understand that the players are not the same caliber of players. We understand all that. But also there's not playing at all. And then there's, the Milan of the early 2000s. There's a land in the middle, I think, that Milan have to strive to get better for. And I get it. 9th place last season. Allegri makes them defensively sound. But still, you want to see the project just move ever so slightly in the right direction, like find the fluidity a little bit so that Milan fans could look and say, yeah, we're not at our best, but we're getting better. But this is where we're going. right now, it's hard to find those examples of, hey, listen, we're getting better. Right now, it actually looks like it's going a little bit the other way. And if they don't get Champions League football, it will be looked at as an absolute failure because no Champions League football with only playing one game a week is not good enough with the money they spend.